Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June edition of the French Cinémathèque, which is a collaboration between the Federation of Alliance Françaises USA and Telescope Film. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Justine Barda, and I am the founder and director of telescopefilm.com, a website for international film and TV. We offer a database of over 500,000 international films and series with links to where to watch them in the US. We also have a dedicated page on the site for French film and TV with information about what's new and what's popular from France, as well as curated selections. We are delighted to be collaborating with AFUSA, the largest Alliance Française network in the world, helping 25,000 learners of French each year learn French, live French, and love French. Here's a short video. So we will put more links to more information about both AFUSA and Telescope Film in the chat in just a moment. The French Cinémathèque takes place the fourth Monday of every month. So next month, we'll be meeting on Monday, July 28th. We'll be talking about the film Stranger by the Lake, directed by Alain Guiraudie. But our film for today is Aline, directed by Valérie Lemercier, based on the life of Celine Dion. And on that note, I just want to say happy birthday to Quebec, which celebrates its National Day tomorrow, June 24th. I will also just mention that we, in addition to our dedicated page for French film and TV, we have a page for Québécois film and television as well. So if you are looking for more French language content, please consider checking that out. I'll put a link to that in the chat as well. Before we get started today, just a couple of brief housekeeping notes. Please keep yourselves muted when you're not speaking and stay on speaker view. To ask a question, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature at the bottom of your screen. It's in the reaction section, or you can always put your question in the chat. If there are technical issues, you may want to leave the Zoom and then sign back in after a couple minutes using the original Zoom link. This event is being recorded for our YouTube channels, and the total runtime is 1 hour. And with that, I would like to introduce our facilitator, who is also the chief film critic for Variety, Peter Debruge. I'll hand things over to you, Peter. If Peter is actually with us. Do we know?
I don't see Peter in the Zoom yet.
Okay, so Peter may be running just a little bit late today, but that's okay. We can get started. So I thought I would open things up with a question about, well, as Peter often does, about your general responses to the film, how you liked it, how you didn't like it. Who wants to get started? Yes, I see some hands going up. Helen, how about you?
Well, I was interested to see how Canadian it was. I wonder if the director was Canadian. It was different listening to Canadian French.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I'm there. I don't want to be there.
So
Turn me off.
I was just it was so interesting to learn about the cultural background, the fact that this extremely famous person came from a very specific cultural context.
Absolutely. So let's see. Now, I can clarify that the director is not, in fact, Canadian. She is French. Valérie Lemercier is the director and also the star, which is something that I want to talk about in just a minute. I'm sure people have a lot of thoughts about that. But first of all, I think I saw another hand up. Stephen, was that you? Yeah, please go.
I loved it.
Okay.
Wonderful film. I loved it.
What did you love about it?
I loved the music. I loved the background. I loved getting to know more about Celine Dion and making me want to research more and find out more about her, listen to more of her music. It was very touching. I found it emotionally touching, and I loved it.
I'm glad
I'm
to.
surprised that it didn't gross as much money as it cost by a long shot. So I hope someone will discuss that point at some point.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear if there were other responses which might explain why the film maybe didn't do as well as it might have. Other thoughts to get us started here, Alan?
I like the love story part, and also there is a subplot with the makeup artist. I don't know what happens there.
Right. No, there is there's a lot about her relationships, and especially that most important influential relationship with her husband, who of course is also her manager. Good. Other initial responses? Suzette.
Sure. Hi.
Hi.
I really dislike this movie. So I'm going to be the odd one out. I love Gentleman's Dog playing in there. I saw in the video. It's so cute. First off, I don't like biopic movies, so you have a huge hurdle.
Right here is how you react.
To get over that. I had to watch it in hunks because I couldn't, it was just not engaging to me. It seemed like it was like filming a stage play or something. I just thought that the dialogue was plotting, now we're in this phase. Now she goes here. Now she changes her hair. Now she does like, I mean, I didn't see anything particularly inventive about the portrayal of the film. I mean, her life is certainly interesting. I give you that, to come from such humble beginnings and become such a, amazing person. I just wonder if this was like a vanity project for the director and the actress.
Well, I think it certainly was a passion project.
Right. Okay, passion, yeah.
Yes, I think that this is, she is clearly a great fan of her subject, to the extent that she wanted to play herself.
Right.
Which again, as I said to you, we'll get to in just a minute. I would just like to interject and ask everyone to please stay on mute if you're not speaking. I think that'll help us avoid some background noise, which would be great.
How do we raise our hand? How do you do the hand raising?
Sure, absolutely. So in the bottom of your screen, you should see a section called React.
Oh, right. Okay.
Heart shape, right. Okay, so that should, if you click on that, it will give you.
Oh, there they are. Okay, thank you. That's not in my other Zooms, so.
Okay, and of course, you are always welcome to enter any comments or questions in the chat. Okay, let's go to Lucille. What did you think? Oop, Lucille, I'm afraid you have to unmute yourself. This is the danger of muting everybody, is we all have to remember to unmute ourselves.
Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the man that spoke just before the lady that said he loved the film?
I'm going to have to ask you to volunteer. Stephen, yes.
Stephen, I couldn't agree with you more. I have hated every film I have seen in the last decade. And I knew everything about Celine Dion. So when I watched this film about 2 hours ago, I understood everything about her family and about her husband and about her children and having difficulty and all that. And I was so disappointed that Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 58% because I would have given it 99%. I thought this film, what I know about Celine Dion was wonderful. And the actress, I thought, was fantastic. So are we the only two?
We will find out.
Okay.
We'll find out for sure. Anthony, how about you?
Well, I think I'm number 3. I also really enjoyed the film, with one caveat though. I
Okay.
felt the film was very true to life. 13 kids, was it 14? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, and in general, I think the film tried to accurately portray Celine Dion's life. However, I don't think her life could have been that rosy. There really weren't any major negative problems in the whole film. That she had trouble conceiving a baby. I remember that.
Hmm.
Married she married her, not a producer, her manager. She married her manager. So there was obviously stuff going on, but I felt like that in general, the film was very, very positive when her life really couldn't have been that positive.
Interesting, interesting. Do we have any Celine Dion fans who can shed any light on that, on the circumstances of her actual life? I mean, I know a little bit, but not so much.
I thought she was working so hard when he gave her that schedule. And he said, you know, you got something on Wednesday, something on Thursday, something on Friday, 3 shows on Saturday, 3 shows on Sunday. I thought, I don't think she wanted that. She was a very kind, loving mom and wife, and all of a sudden, you know, she became so famous. And I am old enough to remember when my daughter said, you know, Kay, blah 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 blah. I live in Tucson.
Mm.
Is going to start a movement to have Celine Dion off the air. And I thought, gee, she's so good. Why would they want to that? But people were sick of Celine Dion in the US. I didn't know. I did not know that. So,
Okay.
and that didn't come up. So, you know, I don't know. All I know is all the stuff I loved about her. It
Okay, that's interesting. So it's like an oversaturation problem that she was just on the air so much that there was a backlash.
was hard work.
Certainly, certainly. Let's see. Anne Marie, you have your hand up. Let's go to you. Anne Marie, are you there?
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I must admit, I forgot to watch the movie, but I have a good excuse. I was in France for a month and I came back, and for some reason I thought I'd seen it before I traveled. But anyhow,
Hmm.
so I tried to catch up a little bit. I read about it, and I saw
Okay.
that one of the remarks by critics was that the fact that the same actress played the character throughout her whole lifespan,
Yeah.
you know, through some sort of video enhancement. Excuse me, Lucille, I'm talking.
Yeah.
Could you mute yourself, Lucille, while I talk?
Mhm.
Mute. Thank you. That it came off like very Facebook enhanced, or what do they call it? iPhone enhanced, and it was odd and jarring. So I sort of wonder, what other folks might think about that.
That was definitely a reservation that I saw in some of the reviews. Let's see. Mary C., how about you? What did you think of the film?
I enjoyed the film, but I was extremely disappointed that it did not include her success in France. So in the 80s, she did a lot of collaboration with Jean-Jacques Goldman, and he wrote a lot of music for her. And one of the albums that they recorded, I think it's called Deux, is still the best-selling album in France of all time. And that was a massive period in her career. And she was not really known in France prior to this whole maybe 7, 8 years she spent with Jean-Jacques Goldman. And I was just very disappointed that none of that was in the movie. And I wondered why.
That's a great question. It is surprising, given that it's it's a French financed film with a French director, French star, obviously. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that is. Let's see. Jocelyn, is that a hand up?
Yes.
Can you shed some light on this?
In response to you, Mary, one of the things, I watched the film and then I did a quick little, tried to zoom through parts of it again this morning to take notes maybe on more than the story itself, how it was filmed, the cinematography, that, you know, were there any scenes that I thought were really well done from a an actual camera standpoint, that type of thing. And alas, I don't have very much to report there. But to your point, one thing I did notice and appreciate was the way they showed the courtship of the parents at the very beginning. He walks in to his coworker's house. There's that moment of, woo, you know, the two of them, the parents see each other. And the next thing we know, we have a quick shot of them playing music. Next shot is them in wedding apparel, discovering that they have a mismatch on how many children they want, but obviously they've just gotten married. And so it was boom, boom, boom. We know this filmmaker has the ability to compress things like that and to do it well. Really, we didn't waste film time on that courtship. So she certainly could have done that, for instance, showing more of Celine's or Aline, I'm a little confused there, success later on. We could have seen boom, 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 and been fed the very thing that you feel is missing. So that's my input there.
That's a great point, Jocelyn. I mean, that was a very efficient setup, right?
Mhm.
Providing all the background information that we might need, at least about her parents, a little bit about her home life, the musical background. Let's see, Lucille, I see that your hand is up. Not sure if that's from before or if that's new.
No, I'm not up.
Okay. So then if there's no other sort of introductory comments, I'd like to jump right into what I think was the most controversial aspect of the film, which is Le Mercier deciding that she was going to portray Celine, or the Celine Dion character, throughout her lifetime. As I think one of you noted, this was a controversial choice for a lot of critics. So when we talk about it having a low score on Rotten Tomatoes, I think that this was certainly an issue that came up a lot. And I'm wondering what you made of it. How did it sit with you? So Michelle, you have your hand up. Let's start with you.
Sorry, had to unmute. I was excited to raise my hand because that was the thing. I also liked the film. I thought it was cute and entertaining, and it made me laugh, and it was lighthearted in some ways. And so I enjoyed those things about it. But it did catch me at the beginning because I did no pre-reading, so I just wanted to see the film as it was, and it got me seeing her adult face in this little child body. It was just too much. Like, it was almost camp for me to see her like that. And I let it go because I enjoyed, and after I read about her and what she was trying to do, the director and all of the things, I was still fine with it. You know, that was her creative choice. I wouldn't have made that choice because it is jarring to see the adult face on the little body. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like that part of it, but anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Other thoughts? Other responses? Was that unsettling for you? Did it pull you out of the story, or maybe not? Jocelyn, I see you there with your hand up. Yep.
The very worst moment of the entire film for me was that moment where we saw the little girl's face come up under the stage. She's peeking, right? Her adult siblings are up on stage playing as a family group. And I was disturbed by the adult face and confused by it. And so your question, Justine, was, did it pull us out? And it's a big yes. That was an error.
Okay.
Absolutely. So.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts about this? Anyone for whom it was not a problem? Anyone who just thought it was a reasonable choice, even a choice that maybe enhanced this portrayal of the character? All right, Amal, let's start with you, and then Anthony, you're next.
Hi. Actually, for me, it was not jarring or unpleasant. And I think because Celine Dion, or the character of Aline, is very quirky. And I think having that face and the adult person shrunk, into a child, and that adds to the quirkiness of her character. And I think it just gave a message. Also, the fact that we see this child looking at her siblings, but she has the adult face, to me, it sounded like she is so in a hurry to grow up that she's already, in a way, manifesting this adult person that she wants to be very badly, very early on. At the age of 12, she wanted to be already a star. And I think that childhood was there, but at the same time, she was already the adult that she wanted to be, or that she thrived to be.
Interesting. I'm wondering if that was part of what the Mercier was.
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was. Maybe not, because I did read and I heard some interviews that Le Mercier did later. She didn't mention that part, but to me, this is how I explained it before I read and saw interviews of Le Mercier. I know that she said something else. She talked about the similarities between her and the character, that she identified very much so with the character. That's why she wanted to be. There was also economical reasons, because you cannot put a child in front of a camera for hours and hours, because of the laws with working with children. And it was easier to have her as an adult, because she would work, for hours, and it wouldn't be a problem. But to me, as an explanation, before I saw the explanation of the director, that's what I thought.
Okay. So it worked for you.
Yes, it did.
Sense. It made sense.
Yeah, it just added to the quirkiness of the character, of who she was. We know that she's funny. We know that she's quirky. We know that in every interview, she's always, trying to talk about herself in a funny way, about her, little quirkiness, etc. So I just added to it.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. You're reminding me though of one particular interview that I read by Critic who struggled with the casting choice. And the particular moment that he struggled with was when her mother is telling her that she's too young to get involved with her manager. And to be told that while she has this sort of middle-aged person's face was like a bridge too far for him. It was too disorienting.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Anthony, how about you?
So for me, I noticed there were some weird things going on, but honestly, I just ignored them. I did not read any reviews of the movie. I didn't read any critics' comments. So if I had known about this in advance, I probably would have had a different opinion. But since I didn't know about it, I just glossed over it. When I noticed something was weird, I just glossed over it. I don't think it was that much of a problem, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. All right. Helen, how about you?
I think she was able to make me believe she was Celine Dion.
Okay.
But I think there's a phenomenon of people who make a career or get an acting job by deciding, oh, I look a little bit like so-and-so, I'm going to make a movie where I'm that person. There's a woman here in Tucson who has made a career of being Edith Head because she looks like her.
Okay.
And she does a play in which she is Edith Head, and she's done it for decades all over the world. So, and then I think recently the Bob Dylan movie. The person who played, I forget the name of it.
Oh, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he, you know, he was able to totally sound like Bob Dylan and make us believe he was Bob Dylan. I think he even did a better job than anybody I've ever seen of being an imposter, quote unquote. So it's definite, and I think there are other instances of people saying that oh, I can get into, you know, it's difficult to get a job as an actor. So one way to do it is direct your own movie and be the star. So it's a way to get your foot in the door in a difficult career.
Sure.
And make yourself famous in the shadow of someone else.
Right. And well, I mean, certainly for, you know, she's playing a character that she feels very strongly about, that she clearly admires Celine Dion a great deal. And she really does inhabit that character. I mean, it's a pretty compelling performance, I think. Stephen, I see your hand up.
Yes, I had the same reaction as Anthony. I hadn't read any of the critics beforehand, and I just sort of glossed over those things. They didn't bother me.
Okay. Okay. Good. And Mary C., how about you?
Well, I just wanted to make the comment that she didn't do the singing like Timothy Chalamet did in his movie, right? The singing was done, I think, by somebody called Violetta Cio, an Italian singer. She did the singing, and I thought she did a terrific job. And I thought how they merged concerts into the Violetta singing was very well done. But back to the comment about the director inhabiting the character. She wasn't just the director, she was the writer, right?
Good.
And she was the actress. So she really wrote that, I think, for how she could act it. So, I mean, I think that's just an explanation for how well she inhabits the character, because she was the writer and she had all of those things going for her. And then she did choose a beautiful singer to emulate us. I'm just surprised I had never heard of the singer, I think Violetta, whatever her name is. I had never heard of her before, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful voice she has.
You make an excellent point that she created this character, right, in the script. Like, so I'm sure that went a long way toward her, you know, her embodiment of her.
Right.
Let's see, Stephen, I see your hand up, but not sure if it's a new hand
Yes,
or.
it's a new hand, yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
The singer was Victoria Cio. She's apparently French.
I thought she was Italian.
Italian.
I think she's French.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, you know, that's let's I wanted to spend some time talking about the music, of course. So maybe this is a great segue. What did you think of the music? And I'd especially be interested to hear from people who are fans of Celine Dion. I mean, you don't have to be a fan. What did you like the music? Was it an important part of the film for you? An important part of the character?
Yeah, I really like the music. I've been a fan forever. And
Okay.
my only problem is I don't know what is true and what is fiction in a
Okay.
movie, because even though I've followed her forever, I knew a lot about her life, I wish there was a way on the internet that you could decide what was enhanced, what was changed, what wasn't true. But the voice I thought was really, really good.
Okay, I want to come back to that point because I think it's a fascinating one. You know, this is a story that was freely inspired by the story of the actual person, Celine Dion, rather than a sort of, biopic in the traditional sense of the word. So let's come back to that in just a moment, but let's stick with the sound for a little bit. Any other thoughts about the music? Responses to the music? How did you like it? Helen?
Could the actual Celine Dion music been used? Can one? No.
Well, I think it would have to be, it would clearly have to be licensed from her. And so it would probably then have to be, a authorized biopic, which this is not. So in this instance, no. Hypothetically, for some other film, maybe. It'd be very expensive. That's
I
for
see.
yeah. Other thoughts? Yes, Jocelyn.
I'd be interested in hearing from some of the other people here tonight. I did no research because I really do like to enter blind and therefore I guess I did not know that it wasn't authorized. This helps answer why it's always Aline instead of Celine, although I did hear one mention of the name Celine in the film, I believe. And I made the assumption that that I was listening to the actual Celine Dion voice. And so I'm a little, just listening to this, I'm confused. And if anyone did a lot of research, I'd like you to raise your hand and fill us in.
Well, now, Phyllis, I saw you nodding along just a moment ago. Did you have something to add?
No, I actually was kind of stuck on the word unauthorized. I didn't really do any research, but I think I clicked on something that alluded to the fact that this was not supported by Celine Dion. That I think that I don't know if others might have done a little more research about that, but I did find that interesting. I got the impression that she was pretty negative about it, but I don't know if others might have. My research was so cursory that I can't really support it that much. But I did like the music.
You did?
I did very much.
And were you familiar with Celine Dion's music prior to the film?
I'm not a huge fan, but fan enough. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I will say it's, there was certainly a period for a while in the US when it was hard to miss. So I'm sure that we've all had quite a bit of exposure to Celine Dion, whether we sought it out or not. Just a quick clarification that, we're really talking about three distinct categories of films. There are, of course, authorized biopics, and then there are unauthorized biopics, which are about the actual person. And this is neither of those. This is, again, as I said before, sort of, well, not sort of, it is literally freely inspired. I think that's the term that Le Mercier uses to describe this story. So it's not even technically about Celine Dion, it is about Aline. It's an additional remove, let's say. So let's maybe talk about that aspect for a little bit. Oh, Helen, I just saw your hand pop up. Still about the music or?
No.
Okay.
Can I say another subject?
Sure.
I loved it because it showed me I was able to live vicariously the life of someone who had a supportive, loving family and husband. And in this time when, of Me Too, to see a relationship between a star and a manager that's really positive when we've been exposed to so many stories that are the opposite.
That
So for me, it was therapeutic in terms of psychological modeling, I guess.
That is a very interesting point. I mean, this kind of takes me back to what Stephen, I think Stephen, it was you who was saying this at the beginning about what a positive film it is, what a positive story, both in terms of her home life and her marriage, you know, and her relationship with her manager. Before we get to, I definitely want to spend some time on the relationship with her manager, then husband. But before we get there, maybe just a little bit more about this issue of genre. Did you, first of all, any fans of biopic here as a genre?
Definitely.
Okay, a couple. I'm seeing a couple of hands go up. Any biopics in particular that you have enjoyed or thought were a good example of the genre? I personally, I have to say, I think it is a genre that is notoriously difficult to do well, right? There's a lot of really bad biopics out there, which is interesting, I think. Why is it so difficult to make a film about somebody well known? And yet it definitely seems to be the case. So was this successful as a biopic? Did the fact that it wasn't strictly speaking a biopic, was that part of the success for you? What did you think? Helen.
Sort of. I mean,
Okay. Tell me more.
I mean, I wanted to, since I am extremely interested in biography, I'm grateful to have seen this story. The ones that I've seen that I thought were fabulous, I mean, I already mentioned the Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown. I thought that was great. And then Leonard Cohen, I saw it 7 times.
Okay.
Because it was like being with Leonard Cohen.
Okay, well, I mean, that is maybe the definition of a successful biopic, right? Being with the person. Just out of curiosity, did other people see that Bob Dylan, the recent one, the Bob Dylan biopic? What did you think of that? Yeah, Lucille.
Unmute.
I unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, I did see it, and I thought it was extremely well done. And I think whenever they choose people to portray people, they search and they search and they finally get somebody that we can all appreciate and not say, he was okay, but he didn't really fit the bill kind of thing. So I loved A Complete Unknown also. Thank you, Helen. Helen?
Well, now, did anybody see that biopic? This is reminding me of that biopic about Bob Dylan that came out. This is several years ago. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to recall the title, but they had multiple actors playing him, one of whom famously was Cate Blanchett. That I thought was a very interesting choice for a biopic, in that it certainly avoided that issue of finding an actor that we can all agree is the perfect embodiment of so-and-so, but also maybe allowed the actors to explore different facets of the character. I thought that was a really interesting choice. If I have a minute, I'll try and put the title of that film in the chat. Other thoughts about the film as a biopic or as a story of this person's life? Did it work as a story of this person's life? Jocelyn.
I know nothing about Celine Dion, and so the only thing I think I want to add is, to the extent that it was an unauthorized biopic, I think I would have liked to have been alerted to that.
Interesting.
Yeah. For instance, something at the beginning, some screen that says, you know, this is not an authorized.
It said we've taken liberties.
Right. You know, and
it said
every
that.
book, it
said
does. It does. Every single book we read these days said, oh, you know, if you see a resemblance, don't. And so I'm so immune to that that screen meant nothing to me. I don't know. So I suppose a smarter person than I would have paid more attention to the fact that it was never Celine and it was always Aline.
Well, tell me this, how would that have changed your experience?
How would such a knowledge in advance?
Yeah, if it had been made explicit.
I think that I think that oof. I guess I would have preferred a name that was more like Samantha.
Okay.
Because I was asked to make the leap and I pretty gullibly made the leap. And so now I don't know how much someone else mentioned this, how much of what I saw was and was not true and what I should trust and not trust. I loved the glimpse into a life of someone who made it this way. And I guess I liked thinking it was a real glimpse.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. So another big part of the film that we haven't really spent much time on yet is the romantic relationship between Aline and Guy Claude. I'd like to hear from you how you felt that was handled. It's certainly the relationship that it depicts in real life has been a source, or was, let's say, you know, a source of some controversy and some scandal early on. And I just wonder how you responded to this depiction. Alan.
The mother was very much opposed to the relationship from the very start, yes, and she thought that it was going to affect her daughter's career as a singer.
Yeah, which it did. I mean, in a good way, right? But clearly the mother had a lot of ambivalence. How about you? What did you think of the relationship and its portrayal here? Was it convincing? Did you buy into it, or did it bother you? Suzette.
I don't know a huge amount about her, but I do understand the power dynamic between these vast age differences and the influence he could have on her career. I kept thinking when she's complaining about being overworked and tired and blah, 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 that she was being absolutely exploited. But I never really understood his motivation. Did he want a lot of money? Did he want all the trappings of this fabulous lifestyle? I didn't understand his motivation. And he couldn't be loving someone that much to drive them crazy with overwork. So I found it kind of a disturbing relationship, aside from the power dynamic and differences and such. And I've certainly seen that a lot when I worked in a college with professors dating students and, you know, all those. I was always in the middle mediating those dramas. So I don't know. I didn't understand him that well. I didn't really see the love behind his actions, I guess.
Okay. Other people, did you find the relationship troubling? Especially in terms of the, you know, the role that that her career played in the relationship itself. Stephen, you have your hand up.
I didn't find it troubling. I guess I took it from her point of view that she was very much in love with him, even though he was supposedly in real life 26 years older than she was. It's quite a stretch. But it seemed convincing to me. I felt that he truly did love her, and he held off on a physical relationship for quite a while. And kind of she sort of drew him into it ultimately. It was touching, the engagement with the ice cream cone wedding ring. In her real life, and I found it a little bit puzzling to me, he was twice divorced. And yet they had a wedding in Notre Dame Church in Montreal. Apparently they worked things out with the Catholic Church. I'm not sure how they managed that.
Right.
They
One way or
may
another.
help. But yeah.
But
I was touched by the relationship and her love for him, and how lost she was when he died and when she was without him and so forth, how much she depended upon him. But he really pushed her, yes, but to bring out the best in her, I think.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit more. Do you think the film clearly separates her love from him from her dependency, her reliance on him professionally? Or is it all sort of mélangé? Is it all mixed up together? Jocelyn, and then Lucille.
Well, no, I return to the fact that you know, sometimes in literature we have a trusted narrator or not, right? And I don't trust this filmmaker anymore.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I've lost some trust, and so I don't know anymore about her interpretation, her choices to portray one thing or another. Was she really interested in portraying what I want to call the truth? Or is she so in love with Celine Dion that she was willing to create a fantasy or to participate in that aspect of it? So having said that, I'm just like uh-oh, things, my screen switched. Okay, I'm looking, I see Stephen's name now. I found myself loving the relationship, honestly. And I'm a person who's pretty primed to distrust those kinds of relationships. So to the extent that this filmmaker wanted me to believe, I started to believe. So I think that she was successful in getting me to put aside, you know, a lot of those are polluted, but every once in a while, there's got to be a good one. So I found myself willing to say, oh, maybe this is one of the good ones.
Okay.
There you
So
go.
over. All right. Let's see, Lucille and then Mary C.
Yeah, I would like to throw this question out to everybody because it crossed my mind. It never really showed me that her husband saw her as a meal ticket. They flashed the house and they flashed, you know, a bunch of things that show that she was extremely, extremely wealthy. But I never got the impression that his love was not genuine and that he was thinking, oh, as long as she keeps singing, I can keep living this life, you know? And I wondered how everybody else felt about that situation.
That's a great question. Anyone? Anyone? All right, well, maybe, let's see, Mary, do you want to speak to that? And then segue into your own point?
Well, actually, I wanted to respond to Jocelyn.
Oh, sure.
So there was an authorized biopic made of Celine Dion in 2024, and it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have not seen it, but what I did note is that I had read that, getting back to the music in the film, that Celine Dion did not allow certain of her songs to be licensed for this film, including The Power of Love. And I looked at the song list that's in the movie I Am Celine Dion, which was authorized, and it seems to me that it includes all the songs that she wouldn't authorize for Aline, because I just looked at it and I found that song that was so important with Jean-Jacques Goldman. I found a whole bunch of other songs that I wondered why they weren't in the movie. And I think she must have had in mind, I'm going to make my own movie one day. Now, this, of course, is after she was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, but apparently it does go back through her life as well. So just a comment, and it was made by an American, I don't remember who, but it might be interesting after all this to go watch that movie. And I haven't seen it, so no comment from me.
And tell us again the title.
I Am Celine Dion.
Celine,
I think it was made in 2024, and it's, from what I could see, I haven't verified this, I think it's on Prime.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Just like while we're on the topic, and before we get to you, Stephen, has anybody seen that documentary? Is it out yet about her struggle with stiff person syndrome?
That's it. I Am Celine Dion. That is the
That's
movie.
it.
It's her biography, but it includes, according to the reviews and the description, and it was only made in August 24.
Right. I thought it was very recent. Has anyone else seen that? I think the juxtaposition of documentaries and biopics, especially these freely inspired, more fictional ones, I think are fascinating to put them in conversation with one another. So I might check that out. Stephen, did you have something to add?
Just that I didn't feel in this movie that her manager had primarily in mind that she was a meal ticket.
Okay. So you found their relationship compelling?
Yes.
Okay.
And touching, and her grief after his death and her lostness touched me very much.
So in terms of both her relationship with him, her romantic life, and her professional career, do you feel like the film shows her as more of a passive figure, or is she in control? And Stephen, I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's a question for anyone to answer. Is she an autonomous figure in this film, did you think?
I didn't ask that question.
Okay. But Helen, maybe you have thoughts.
I think because she was so young when she fell in love with him that she never moved out of that place. And when it became obvious through the house and so on, and the being almost overbooked, I really registered. I thought, oh wow, he's doing this for the money. I mean, if there weren't money in the picture, would their love be what it was? I mean,
okay, so you have a more skeptical view.
But it is very rare. I've heard of one other story. Carol Burnett had a really a wonderful relationship with her husband, who was her manager, and that's how she became famous and had the career she had on TV. But most of those stories are not positive in reality.
Yeah, they can definitely go either way. Jocelyn, it looks like you want to jump in and then we'll get to Phyllis.
I don't know, Helen. Right? I don't know. I think Lucille Ball had an interesting relationship.
Right.
Yeah. We haven't talked yet, and I think we're headed there, about the role of the mother. But I want to introduce the character of the mother, because as I did a second quick run through today, I was struck by the number of scenes in the film where the mother was on the phone orchestrating this young girl's life very early on, and up late at night making plans, and so it's to your question, Justine, was Aline or Celine in charge of her own life? I think for a long time she was not. She was such a young child born to such older parents, with a whole group of older siblings who remained very active in her life. We saw a brother being a cook. They were involved in all aspects of her life later on. I don't know that, and again, not knowing, just grabbing from the film that I saw, I don't know that she was in charge of much at all.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, she certainly has a lot of other dominant figures in her life. And and yet it seems like a slightly odd thing to say about somebody who had such a, a stratospheric career, right? You are right that we didn't do justice to the mother. We are coming up on our time here. Phyllis, I want to get to you, and Amal, I see your hand up. If either of you want to speak to the character of the mother, their relationship, that would certainly tidy things up. Phyllis, how about you?
I'm not going to speak to the mother because I had a comment about the relationship with her husband. But I think that we should just move forward because we are getting close to the end.
Okay, well, that's very generous of you, Phyllis. We'll come back to you next time. Amal, it looks like you're going to get the last word.
Oh, wow. Okay. The mother. I think the mother and also the husband both really wanted what's best for her. She was asked more than once, what do you want to be? And the answer was always, I want to be a star. And they both worked toward that goal for her. Her mother was always her best partner. She wrote her first song. She was making the phone calls. She got help and got introduced to, the future husband, eventually the manager. Was it Claude Guy? Guy Claude? What was his name in the movie? Yes. Well, in the real story, in the real life of Celine Dion, he did not have much when she came to him. He actually did not have money, and he had to get a mortgage, an extra mortgage on his house in order to, put her first vinyl at the time, I guess, or CD. The mother was against the relationship in the beginning, and she did for many years. And she did tell him that she always imagined a Prince Charming for her daughter, and he was not the Prince Charming that she had imagined in her head, 26 years older than her. She liked him as a person, she liked him as the manager, and she knew he was good for her, but not as a husband, because she wanted the prince for her princess. And eventually, I think the marriage ceremony, at the cathedral with her dressed up, and they made fun of her actually, that she looked like Marie Antoinette with the big, headpiece. I think that was the point. When they did it, she looked like a princess. So in a way, he was you know, maybe it was their answer to the mom. Like, yes, she is a princess and she's getting what she deserves.
Mhm.
You know, the fairy tale wedding and the fairy tale life.
Well, that is a lovely note to end on. And I think also an insightful one, that her career was something that all three of them wanted, right? It certainly wasn't against her will. And that kind of career is not something that anybody achieves on their own. So I think, you know, we get some idea of how it was achieved, and it was a product of these relationships. All right, I'm afraid we have to leave it there, but thank you everybody for muddling through with me without Peter today. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you also, a sincere thanks to Melissa Sarah, Renee Ketchum, Isabelle Leroux, and everyone at the Alliance Française. And again, to everyone who joined us today and for such a lively conversation about Aline. I believe that there's a link to Stranger by the Lake in the chat, and we'll see you back here next month on July 28th. All right, everyone. Have a good time until then. We'll see you soon. Bye.